I'd been living alone for a few years. With my busy work schedule, I barely had time to socialize, let alone find a partner. Whatever, I was used to being by myself. Though sometimes, when I was alone in my apartment at night, I did feel lonely. Last Friday after work, I came home and started prepping for my usual weekend night routine: pizza delivery, beer, and a movie. I took off my work clothes and went into the bathroom to take a nice hot shower first. As I was running the bath water, I suddenly felt thirsty and went to the living room to grab a beer. When I came back, the tub was already filled to the brim, overflowing and flooding the floor. Crap, I forgot to turn off the faucet. I hurriedly shut off the water and used a towel to dry the floor. I was only gone for a minute. How did the tub fill up so fast? Oh well, I took off my clothes and stepped into the steamy bath, lying back comfortably in the hot water. I closed my eyes, letting the warmth soothe my daily fatigue. Just then, I felt a pair of hands gently grip my neck, making me bolt upright in shock. My heart raced as I looked around frantically, but I was alone in the bathroom. Maybe I was just tired and hallucinating. I tried to convince myself and lay back down. Right as I was drifting off, the hands grasped my neck again. The touch was more vivid and forceful this time, as if trying to strangle me. I jolted up, splashing water everywhere. "Who's there?" I yelled, grabbing a shampoo bottle as a weapon. But only silence answered. The bathroom remained empty. Now I was really freaked out. I leapt out of the tub and hid in the bedroom, not even daring to open the door. I was petrified, unable to stop imagining those invisible hands. Was it some deranged killer who climbed in through the window? With shaky hands, I called 911. 10 minutes later, 2 police officers came to check my apartment. They searched every room but couldn't find anyone. All the doors and windows were locked tight, no signs of forced entry. There were no wood footprints on the bathroom floor either. The cops said it was likely just a hallucination and told me to sleep tight. I tried to believe the police, since I was indeed alone in the apartment. Maybe work stress was causing delusions. After psyching myself up for a while, I nervously went back to drain the tub. "It's just a hallucination, just a hallucination," I kept murmuring as I checked every corner. After finally washing up, I put on pajamas and went to bed. The howling wind and rain outside still made me uneasy. Just then, a knock sounded at the door, making me nearly jump from the bed. "Who's there?" I called out, trembling. No response. Terrified, I grabbed a baseball bat and crept towards the door. I took a deep breath and swung open the door. Nobody was outside, only gusts of wind. I breathed a sigh of relief, realizing it was just the wind banging the door. I must be totally exhausted to have so many hallucinations. I downed a glass of brandy to calm my nerves. The next morning, I still decided to see a psychiatrist. After an examination, the doctor said I likely had mild psychosis from prolonged work stress. He prescribed some medication and told me to rest up. I followed his advice and soon felt much better. A week later, I prepared to take a bath again. Learning my lesson, this time I set up a camera at the bathroom entrance in case of hallucinations. I stripped down and tried to relax. Just then, the camera captured a chilling scene: a pair of invisible hands slowly, gently encircling my neck. Horrified, this was no hallucination, it was real. I flew out of the bathroom heedless of my dripping body. I frantically called the police, babbling incoherently about this supernatural occurrence. When the officers arrived, I had watched the footage dozens of times and saved it. I pointed at the disembodied hands on screen and demanded they search my apartment. This time, the police saw the eerie footage too. They scanned my bathroom walls and floor, discovering a secret compartment. My bathroom shared a false wall with the neighbors. He could access my bathroom. The realization made me shudder in revulsion and dread. Sure enough, the police found my creepy neighbor in the hidden passage. He had been sneaking over to grope me during my baths. God knows what else he did that I didn't notice. Just thinking about it now makes my skin crawl. The neighbor was arrested on the spot, and I moved out of that cursed place immediately. The experience taught me a profound lesson. I never shower alone anymore, always having a friend stand guard outside. In the dead of night, I still think of those hands, and the lurking pervert behind them. I changed many habits before finally moving past the trauma. But I know it will haunt me for life, lingering eternally in my nightmares. I was a 21-year-old college sophomore named Jack. Now I recall the bizarre incident that happened that autumn during my sophomore year. It still gives me the chills. It was a Friday night, around 10 p.m. I was alone in my rented apartment off campus. My roommates Adam and Tom hadn't come back yet. It was raining heavily outside, with raindrops pattering on the windows. It was common for my roommates to be out for weekend nights, so I was used to spending nights alone in the apartment. That afternoon I didn't have classes, so I curled up on the couch watching horror movies and ordered a pizza delivery. As it got dark outside, the movie soundtrack combined with the pouring rain gave me some creepy feelings. After finishing the pizza, I decided to take a hot shower before going back to my room to play games until falling asleep. I locked the bathroom door, took off my clothes and turned on the hot water to start showering. The bathroom was soon filled with white steam, and a thin fog clouded up the mirror. Just then, I seemed to vaguely hear footsteps outside the door, as well as the sounds of the bedroom door opening and closing. At first I thought nothing of it, guessing it was just my roommate coming home. However, after a while, the sounds outside didn't stop, but became more distinct. I heard drawers being pulled open, cabinet doors opening and closing. I realized something was wrong. This was definitely not my drunken roommate fooling around. I became nervous, and as quietly as possible, put my clothes back on and turned off the shower head. The moment I reached for the door handle, the sounds outside stopped abruptly, an eerie silence. I held my breath, opened the door as slowly as I could and walked out. The lights outside were all off and I couldn't see a thing. Just as I was reaching to turn on the lights, a blurred dark figure suddenly moved from behind me to stand right in front of me, and said in a very creepy tone, "I finally found you." I was incredibly horrified, and instantly turned to run wildly towards the door. The dark figure let out an inhuman, bizarre shriek, chasing closely after me. Just as I was about to reach the door, it stretched out an exceptionally icy, gaunt hand and clutched my wrist tightly. I felt its sharp claw-like nails, which gave me the chills down my spine. I shook it off forcefully, and rushed out the door fleeing for my life. I frantically pressed the elevator button, but it just wouldn't come. I had no choice but to run down the stairs, taking 2 steps at a time, and sprinted out of the apartment building. The rain immediately drenched my hair and clothes, but I couldn't care less, and just kept running forward like crazy. I didn't stop until I saw pedestrians on the street. I ducked into a restaurant and with shivering hands called the police. They arrived quickly, and I took them back to check the apartment. As soon as we entered, we saw the place was a total mess, with overturned furniture and debris everywhere. The police searched every room thoroughly, but there was no trace of the dark figure, as if it had vanished into thin air. I didn't dare stay alone here anymore, and moved in with a friend that same night. This bizarre experience made me unable to be alone in an empty apartment anymore. I kept feeling that the dark figure would come back for me. Until this day, I still wake up from dreams about that icy cold skeletal hand clutching me. This bizarre encounter reminds me that when living alone, I need to stay alert and seek help from others at the first sign of danger. I will never again choose to live in a remote place lacking security measures. Every time I recall that rainy night, I still get the chills, and cannot let it go till this day. I often remind myself not to let my guard down just because I'm home alone, and to stay vigilant to avoid repeating the same mistake. I had rented a cozy log cabin nestled deep in the mountains for a week of solo vacation after an intensely stressful period at work. It belonged to a distant cousin of mine who had inherited it from his grandfather, but now lived in the city and left it unoccupied for years. I was eagerly looking forward to relaxing alone in this scenic wilderness and temporarily escaping the endless pressures of my urban corporate job. On the third day after arriving at the remote retreat, that Saturday evening, I decided to pamper myself with a nice steaming hot shower before starting to prepare dinner. The quaint cabin had only one small bathroom located downstairs, with just a stand-up shower stall and toilet crammed inside. Although outdated, the shower had excellent water pressure. I double and triple checked that I had securely locked the bathroom door, since I would be completely vulnerable. I then laid on my comfortable pajamas and a clean towel within arm's reach before undressing and stepping into the soothing shower. The perfectly hot water was immensely soothing on my sore muscles. But barely 5 minutes in, I suddenly heard heavy footsteps outside, approaching the house from a considerable distance. I tensed up immediately and hastily turned off the shower to listen closely, thinking maybe an animal had wandered nearby. The slow, steady footsteps soon came right up to the bathroom door. My heartbeat racing, I then heard the doorknob slowly rattle, but no sound of the door creaking open. I was absolutely horrified, because I so clearly remember triple checking the lock, so someone was trying hard to open this locked door. Naked and dripping wet, I held my breath and huddled into a tight ball in the corner of the shower, irrationally scared that whoever it was would hear me and know I was here. After noisily fiddling with the stubborn knob for several long minutes, the ominous footsteps gradually faded into silence. I waited several more agonizing minutes to make absolutely sure the intruder had given up and left. Only then did I cautiously turn off the water, wrap myself in a towel, and peek out the bathroom door. The dimly lit hallway and entire house were dead silent. But then I saw something even more chilling. I distinctly, vividly remembered checking that sturdy lock 3 times, but now the antique brass mechanism had been completely destroyed, the splintered wood frame leaving the door slightly ajar. This meant that the person hadn't been trying to get in, but had quickly, easily broken the lock within minutes to enter my temporary home. In a state of utter shock, I frantically searched the 2 small bedrooms, storage closet, and under all the beds, terrified the intruder could still be hiding silently somewhere inside. But I found nothing disturbed or out of place. The fact remained that an unknown, potentially dangerous person had managed to enter this remote cabin in the dead of night for mysterious reasons, which already sent shivers down my spine. What disturbed me even more deeply was having not a clue about his motive. Heart pounding, I double-checked every window and door to verify they were locked up tight. I felt no safer, however, knowing he or they could return at any moment. With no cell phone signal way out here in the mountains, and no close neighbors I could run to for help, all I could do was try to stay alert and hope daylight would come quickly. That nightmare of a night, clutching a small kitchen knife in one hand and flashlight in the other, I huddled trembling in the corner of the musty downstairs closet, irrationally feeling that if I couldn't see the doors, no one could get in. Every single little creak and snap of the cabin settling made me jump in terror. At long last, daylight began creeping in. Still shaky, I quickly threw my few belongings into my suitcase and drove away from the deeply unsettling cabin, never looking back. To this day, the intruder's identity and their motive for breaking in remain perplexing unknowns, as does the true intent behind the bizarre events of that night. But I'm absolutely certain someone or multiple people deliberately approached my solitary rental cabin under the cloak of darkness and managed to gain entry inside. The sheer terror of being vulnerable and powerless against this mysterious home invasion still haunts me. I have not been able to spend another night alone in a remote location since.